Hi guys, it's Seth. Welcome back to Warthog Defense. In this video we are going to see a story about troubled Russian Navy. Russia's only aircraft carrier, the troubled Admiral Kuznetsov, may never sail again. After years of delays, accident and wasted billions, repair work has reportedly come to a halt, and even Russian media is questioning whether it's worth finishing it at all. Is this the final chapter for what was once a symbol of naval power? Let's take a closer look. In Russia, the repair of the aircraft carrier Admiral Kuznetsov has been halted, and there are doubts about whether it is worthwhile to return it to service. The Russian Izvestia propaganda outlet reported on this. Sources from the publication stated that the repair and modernization work on the ship had been suspended some time ago. In the near future, the representatives of the Russian Navy Command and the United Shipbuilding Corporation will make a decision regarding the feasibility of continuing the repair and modernization of the ship and its return to the combat fleet. Local experts do not rule out the possibility that the morally and physically outdated aircraft carrier Admiral Kuznetsov may be decommissioned and sent for scrapping. The major overhaul of the ship began back in 2017 after its deployment near the coast of Syria. In October 20, when the Admiral Kuznetsov was leaving dry dock PD-50 at the 82nd Ship Repair Plant in Rozlyakovo, a crane fell onto its deck and damaged it. Repairs continued, but a year later a large fire broke out on the cruiser. At least 6 people were injured at that time. According to plans, the ship's repair was supposed to last until 2024. The Russians of the Admiral Kuznetsov crew formed a mechanized battalion called Frigate and sent it to fight in the war against Ukraine. A devastating Ukrainian strike has dealt a major blow to Russia's elite 155th Guards Naval Infantry Brigade, with the confirmed deaths of 4 high-ranking officers. Among the dead is Major General Mikhail Evgenievich Gudkov, one of the most senior commanders tied to the unit. He was killed alongside 3 colonels, Sergei Yuryevich Ilin, Leonid Nikolaevich Bashkardin and Nariman Shamsudinovich Shikaliev. This level of officers loss in a single strike is rare and signals a highly effective intelligence-led operation by Ukraine. The 155th Brigade, often used in Russia's most aggressive assaults, has suffered catastrophic losses throughout the war, and this latest hit may cripple its ability to lead future offensives. The elimination of key command figures not only disrupts operations on the ground, but also shakes morale across the Russian ranks. A Ukrainian variant of the Swedish-made tracked all-terrain vehicle BV-206 is reinforced with full improvised anti-drone protection. Shaheds hit a military enlistment office in Odessa. Smoke is rising from the impact site, according to local reports. Russia has adopted a new tactic in its ongoing war against Ukraine, targeting recruitment and enlistment centers deep inside Ukrainian territory. These attacks, often carried out with drones or long-range missiles, aim to disrupt the mobilization and training of new Ukrainian troops. By striking these facilities, Russia hopes to slow down the rotation of fresh forces to the front lines and undermine Ukraine's ability to sustain prolonged operations. It's a psychological strategy as well, meant to spread fear among volunteers and conscripts. But despite the damage and casualties, these strikes have not broken Ukraine's will to defend itself. On the contrary, they've hardened public resolve, as more Ukrainians see the war reaching even places once considered safe. Ukraine has responded by increasing the protection of these sites, decentralizing recruitment efforts, and continuing to adapt. Far from halting mobilization, Russia's tactic is only reinforcing Ukraine's determination to fight back. The UK has announced a major defense agreement with Ukraine, set to be signed at the URC conference. Under the $2.5 billion 19-year deal, more than 5,000 Thales air defense missiles will be delivered to Kyiv. The UK also pledged $283 million in aid for 2025, plus funding for governance reform and green energy initiatives. President Donald Trump is ready to sign a punishing Russia sanctions bill that GOP hawks have pushed for months. but only if it changes to give him more control. A senior administration official granted anonymity to discuss the president's view said that conceptually there's an openness to the bill from Senator Lindsey Graham, but the person suggested that the legislation needs to preserve what the White House sees as the president's sole authority to oversee U.S. foreign policy. The current version would subject the president's foreign policy decisions to micromanagement by Congress through a joint resolution of disapproval process. "That's a non-starter for us," said the official. "The administration is not going to be micromanaged by the Congress on the president's foreign policy. The bill needs a waiver authority that is complete." Trump's new willingness to engage with Congress on a sanctions bill underscores his growing frustration with Russian President Vladimir Putin, who he says has rebuffed efforts to negotiate an end to the bloodshed in Ukraine. For the president now, he has invested his own reputation of being able to negotiate anything anywhere, and Putin has made him look foolish, said one Republican operative close to the White House. Vladimir Putin has shown an unwillingness to be reasonable and to talk seriously about brokering a peace, and I think we have to send him a message, he said. Senate Majority Leader John Thune has been more circumspect, citing both substantial progress in working with the White House on the bill, but also making clear his desire to get Trump fully on board. He said in a floor speech Wednesday it was possible the measure could come to the Senate floor this month, but offered no guarantee. But the president's comments, emphasizing that any additional Russia sanctions would be at my option, underlined what aides said is a top priority: maintaining maximum flexibility and total control over US policy toward the Kremlin. Two people granted anonymity to describe private discussions on Capitol Hill acknowledged that while the White House might broadly be supportive of the sanctions bill, they hadn't yet reached an agreement with lawmakers on the scope of the waiver authority. Thune acknowledged in a brief interview that the waiver language remains subject to negotiation. "We're still working with them," he said, adding that they were trying to get everyone on the same page. The White House, asked for comment on the state of play, pointed to Trump's remarks. So far, the GOP-controlled Congress has been remarkably pliant in the face of Trump's pressure, delivering the president's massive tax and spending package last week and backing the White House's actions on trade, immigration and war powers, all areas where Congress has constitutionally granted authority. Given that pattern, the administration expects lawmakers will craft the Russia sanctions bill in a way that satisfies Trump, even if that means giving up their role administering its provisions. That's a shift from Trump's first term, when a broad sanctions bill targeting Russia included language creating a former congressional review process. France's Defense Minister Sébastien Lecornu announced that production of the Anglo-French Storm Shadow Scalp AG cruise missiles was about to resume on Wednesday, July 9th. The post came after he had visited the MBDA factory in the UK's Stevenage with the British Defense Secretary John Healey. Lecornu said in his post, supplied to Ukraine, the Franco-British Scalp Storm Shadow missile has demonstrated its effectiveness in modern high-intensity combat in decisive situations. He then added, as a joint venture between France, the UK, Italy and Germany, MBDA is a symbol of Europe's leading defense industry. MBDA, who designed and built the missile, is a joint venture between France, the UK, Italy and Germany, resumed, marking the first new order in 15 years for the Franco-British precision weapon. The missile, which entered service in 2003, was a development of the older French Apache anti-runway missile, developed by France's Metra and British Aerospace before the MBDA JV began serial production. The low-observable Storm Shadow Scalp missile, which in the export version supplied to Ukraine, has a range in excess of 250 kilometers, 155 miles, and uses its combined satellite-guided and inertial precision-guided system to deliver its BROACH, Bomb Royal Ordnance Augmented Charge, multi-stage bunker-busting warhead against protected facilities. Ukrainian forces have used the missiles to strike heavily defended Russian military installations and naval command centers, including targets in Crimea. such as the September 2023 strike on Russia's Black Sea Fleet headquarters in Crimea. Le Cornu says that restarting production will ensure that both France and its allies are able to maintain stockpiles of the cruise missile, and suggested that some of the newly produced missiles would be supplied to Ukraine. It was not specified if these would be the export version or the type used by the UK and France, which has a range of up to 560 kilometers, 350 miles. In its 2025 Defense Equipment Finance Bill, published in December 2024, France included 1.9 billion, 2.2 billion for 150mm artillery ammunition, heavy torpedoes, air defense, air-to-surface, and air-launched missiles, including Storm Shadow Scalp EG. The decision to restart production comes as Ukraine's US and European allies face growing concerns that weapons supplied in support of Ukraine have denuded their own stockpiles, with the Anglo-French cruise missile having proved its essential capability.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comment section. The membership link is in the description.
Rescues every day. We had a guy last week at 6 rescues in 6 days. You know, he's doing the job every day.